Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. And, well, as you know, people meeting, some committees meeting in about 6 places, looking at trying to review the Constitution, at least begin the processes. So, public hearings, that's what it's called properly. Public hearings, Constitution review, that became the center of our conversations yesterday. I got 2 gentlemen here. Libros Oshoma, he's a lawyer and public affairs analyst, and Remilekun Samson Aremu, economist and political affairs analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming along. So we've been down this route before, but it's important. So here we are, we're taking another stab at it. There are a number of things that people have long been agitating for, that can only properly happen once we have reviewed the Constitution. Even in a different context, I think the presidency was saying yesterday that some of the things that we're even talking about in terms of security are going to actually require, for instance, the whole matter about, it is thought that this whole matter of the cattle grazing, that you can't do it without a constitutional review. So it goes to show how important it is. Other matters, true federalism, state police, Lagos, as you know, Senator Oluremi Tinubu has long championed a special status for Lagos. And so all of that is there. But gentlemen, you must have listened or have got the report. Maybe I can start with you. Let me start with you, Remilekun Aremu. What do you think is, first of all, granting that everything is important, what would you take as the key ones that, if we don't get anything done, hopefully we get this done?
Well, thank you, Rampriori. Looking at the state of the nation, we know this is long overdue. And I haven't gone through some of the items on the constitutional review stuff. I think what is most important is the true federalism. We need to
we have a kind of, we have, after all, they call us the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yeah.
People like Libros have long been commenting on that particular, on his own TV program. He's long been commenting on that. So it's like, you seem to be in agreement with him that, no, we need true federalism, as opposed to what we are calling federalism now.
Yes, like that. And another thing that is so germane is the issue of Lagos having a special and economic status. You and I, we know how Lagos is. I think the government should put something on ground this time around to ensure that Lagos gets this.
Even though, as you know, Libros, when these kind of conversations start, the fact that someone has seen a special case for Lagos, just for the moment concentrating on Lagos, as you know, when politicians meet, it will then become, so what's so special about Lagos? Whereupon whoever was
require special status.
That require special status, even though those who are supporting that particular motion can give you volumes and volumes of information, but still it's going to come about say, no, everybody's equal. Give me your thoughts.
But I really think, like the learned senior advocate Baba Afe Babalola has said, let's go back. Look at where we actually missed it. Go back to the 1960 or the Republican Constitution. Look at when we practiced regionalism, how developed we were as compared to when we are practicing federalism now. Take snippet of all of the constitutions that we have had. But something very key for me, you cannot have a constitutional review without having an attitudinal review. The Constitution would just be a mere document. It is the attitudinal review that will actually shape that Constitution. Otherwise, if you like, review this Constitution. That's why you said we have worked this part before. And so agreed, our Constitution is not the best of documents. Even today, as I speak to you, apart from this section 709 that guarantees a democratically elected structure at the local level, the Constitution is silent on what should happen at the local level. That is why in some cases you see governor just sack an entire local government structure. So we need to look at this structure. And what is also fueling these agitations now? It is easy to look at the finances to look at security. These are the two things that, you know, they all seem to agree, including the governors. They seem to all, they are unanimous. And that's why the president is telling you for cattle grazing and the insecurity, you cannot, you know, look at it without amending the constitution, even though I disagree with him. But that said, we also need to actually look at the entire electoral process of the Nigerian states, because that is the only, what do you call it, sacrament that allow people to participate in government. And if it is flawed, no matter how much you amend the constitution, the process, the entire process will consistently be flawed, and there will be agitations.
And Niger Delta, it wants fiscal federalism, you know, maybe real federalism. There's long been talk about, in fact, there's been talk about the Nigerian president. The president in Nigeria is the most powerful president in the world. Yeah. So commentators say. I don't know what that means, but it gives us an indication that you've got to consider devolving power to the units. That hasn't been embraced, because even as people are suggesting it, nobody seems to be paying any attention to it once you're in the center, perhaps.
Yes, you're right. But the issue now is not even Niger Delta alone. Every other state is agitating for this thing you're talking about. At the time of this present administration, some of the promises made was that there's going to be true federalism, that the center will be made to
less attractive.
Less attractive. But that was before coming into office. And then when you arrive, you now look at the lie of the ground and you see that, is this how it is?
The game changes. And see, one thing is this. The willingness to do things is what matters most. Now, we know the government is trying its best to get true federalism on board. Like my colleague says, the issue of people participating in this process is so germane, it's so important that, okay, now let's come to the round table. How do we achieve this? The youths, the women, the elites, the informal sector, let them all come on board and provide solution to this issue of federalism, to this issue of devolving power to the units.
I think if we're looking at, because there seems to be very discordant tunes. Yeah. If we're talking about true federalism, and then in the same vein you are saying give Lagos a special status. If Lagos, if you by the definition of that true federalism, what it means is that whatever is produced here, Lagos will generate its own revenue and pay taxes to the center. Then you won't need a special status for Lagos, because Lagos, the money that Lagos will be generating would be enough to even take care of some states. Lagos on its own can harness some state and say, we'll give you loan. So why will a federal government would then be given a special status to Lagos? Look at California, for example. California is richer than, you know, most states in America. So because of what they generate. So if you look at it from that point of view, then you will now be talking about special status. Special status will only come into bear when the structure is still as defective as it is now. And then secondly, the third part for me is, if we're talking about going back to the first Republican Constitution, that is the regional government, where the president and the parliamentarians are equal. They are, you know, you only have primus inter pares. That's where the president is first among his equals. And so they can talk to him, not this idea of, oh, Baba this, Baba that. And then the regions, like we saw in the First Republic, the regions would generate, it's still the same generation. That's why I said finances and security. The regions will take care of their finances and take care of their security. So, and then you pay a percentage to the center. And then if you are stronger, then you probably pay more to be able to take care of the weaker units. So if we're talking about that one, then we'll now be talking about federalism, because we're talking about regionalism and the parliamentary system of government. That's why I said all of these are discarded to let us narrow down to what we actually want in terms of amending this constitution. Some have said amend, some said completely jettison and bring a new one.
And that's because commentators have long been saying that the opening lines of the constitution is quite frankly a lie. We, the people.
Yes, I agree. The opening line, the people didn't sit down to draft the constitution. The constitution was decreed by Decree 24 into existence. I say it says, we, the people. And then you say subsection 2 says that nobody shall forcefully govern this country. But in a situation where you plan a coup and you succeed, what happens to you? All those that have planned coup and succeeded and are back into politics today, what happened to them? We all know all of these lies. But that's why I said the attitude is the key thing. It is not the Igbo man that came to underdevelop the Yoruba land. It is Yorubas that underdeveloped Yoruba land. It is not the Hausa man that came to underdevelop Igbo land. It is the Igbo man that underdeveloped their own people that underdeveloped. Just the same way you see an Egbete man underdeveloping an Egbete. But then, if we have the right attitude and you amend this constitution, the power will be residual in the people. And then they'll be able to hold leaders accountable. And the only way you can hold them accountable if there's electoral processes, you know, is participatory. If it is not participatory, a man can sit down somewhere and write result and say, I've won. And he goes to church and do Thanksgiving.
You know, that word participatory there, I don't know. So oftentimes we hear commentary that Nigerians, it is alleged, are not really as participatory as they can be. The ordinary Nigerian walking the streets, the real power, the masses that politicians depend upon, don't really concern themselves, it is alleged, with these niceties of power and these, you know, refined final aspect. I don't know the extent to which, you know, for instance, Afe Babalola SAN calling for the 1963 Constitution, don't know the effect to which that resonates with them. Because what happens is, I imagine, they tend to look to their leaders for direction. And so whatever my leader thinks is what I'm going to think. There's a sense in which there's almost a parallel in the churches. The people won't read the Bible for themselves, it is alleged. But then whatever my pastor, my man of God says, whatever he says, I'm going to run with that.
Yeah. So, like you said, behavioral changes. We need to change our behavior. Attitudinal changes towards this.
You know, we've been saying this thing for more than 20 years, or behavioral changes and all of that. We know that it is damn hard to get anybody to change their behavior. It's
not too hard.
Okay.
Like you said, it's because the people have lost confidence in government, in their political leaders.
So they stop participating.
So they stop participating.
You know, by the time we now left it, it's okay.
Let them
it's okay. You people do what you will do.
If I'm going to the polling unit, it won't be a reflection of what I put in. But now, by the time people now changes their behavior towards that, and the government is now giving enough confidence to their people that your vote will count, your voice will be heard, I think everybody will come on board. And it will be a kind of participatory, as we're talking about. People will come on board. Now, you want to make a budget. You've not taken the stakeholders into account. You've not called them to come, okay, what is your need? You know, we all have wants, which is inside here. What are their needs? Let it come on board. Let them bring it on board. Not that you are thinking, okay, I should give you paracetamol while you're having a stomachache. By the time we do that, we see that, okay, we are now rebuilding the confidence of the people. And they will now change their own attitude towards, people will say, well, we don't go into politics because it's this, it's that. And we end up being ruled or governed by. So that is just the...
But as you well know, this whole thing, even as we say that perhaps people are not as participatory as they actually have the potential to be, maybe that's why, not maybe, that is indeed why we have this representative kind of a situation. I've got people representing me in the state assemblies. I've got people representing me in the federal assemblies. Now, these people that are representing us, because the whole thing, it's all interlinked.
Yeah.
If people are going into politics along the lines of, I also need my turn, if you know what that means. I need my turn. The one that went the last time, he has come back, everybody has seen the change in his life and that of his family. So it's enough, go and sit down, it's now my turn. In other words, you know, the reason people are going into public service, you know, is suspect at best.
Yes.
You know, they're not going in there, it is thought, for the whole purpose of serving.
That's why I said, you know, a constitutional amendment without an attitudinal
it's not going
amendment
to address this particular problem, for example.
And that's why when you talk about devolution of power from the federal to the state, without devolution of power from the state to the local government and devolution of power from the local government to the people, you will not have the same result. I give you an example. We talk about participatory, and he rightly said, the people have lost faith and trust in the process, and so there's apathy. If you remember, in the first, during the military era, the military government, because of the lack of acceptability for their system of government, you hear them also involve people, engage people through mass mobilization. That's why you hear organizations like DFRI, you hear organizations like MAMSA. But today, as I speak to you, you hear organizations like National Orientation Agency. You know, so these were deployed to educate the people, to accepting the government.
Do you think it made any difference?
As I speak to you now, apart from the Delta State Orientation Agency headed by Barrister Eugene Uzum, who, for me, I see him try to engage the grassroots. But even though largely of those engagement are government plans and policy, like recently I saw them engage in an anti-court campaign, how much of that do you see replicate at the state level to educate the people? You see recently, what do you call it? INEC said that voters' education and awareness should be a political party thing because they are the beneficiaries of the vote, and it shouldn't be left for INEC alone. But how much of that does the political party do? What is our National Orientation Agency doing today in terms of engaging the people, creating awareness on rights, duties, and responsibilities? Here we are debating, we are amending constitution. The Chapter 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, Fundamental Objectives and Directive Principles of State Policies. We've talked about it, we've flogged it, they are not justiciable. These are duties that the government owe you as a citizen. They are not justiciable. Yes, in other jurisdictions like in India, they were justiciable, but the court interpreted them to be. But if we are amending the constitution and these rights, these privileges, because it is the people at the end of the day that it boils down to. And so if these people are not carried along and they do not see the benefit and the need derivable from the process, and they will always tell you, look, if you go there, area boys will come and snatch ballot box and people will die and nothing happens. So in looking at the police also, some people will tell you that we're not right for state policing. Sorry, I'm running up on this because they believe that the same agitations at the state level, it is not for altruistic purpose. It is so that the governors become emperor. Yeah. Just the same way they are scared of the president becoming emperor.
Yes, there's a fear.
How well had this government, and the government, state governors now, you know, educate the people to change that narrative and mindset? So the answer is no.
I think it's a fundamental point.
Very, very fundamental.
You raised that.
Very
look,
fundamental.
If you change the constitution, good luck to you. But if there's not a national attitudinal change on the individual level to make up the whole attitude. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Hello.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. And then good morning, Mr. Lebros, and then the other gentleman.
Yes. Mr. Aremu.
Thank you, Mr. Aremu. Thank you very much. Chibioli, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of one thing. I have doubt in my mind that this constitution review that's going on around the country will not be just
the public hearings.
Yes, the public hearing. And then I have my reservation for saying that. Why is it difficult, especially for the government, this government that we all supported, some of us? See, why is it difficult to uphold what they did in terms of setting up the El-Rufai panel that time. They set up El-Rufai panel period to 2019 election. And then if you go to that report, you'll find that a lot of things that they will be raising, they will come up in this constitutional review. It is there already. Why is it difficult for the party, especially the party hierarchy, to begin to protest, including the member of the party, to begin to protest that, okay, you set up El-Rufai panel, El-Rufai committee, and then at the end of the day, they come up with some certain things. They present this thing to Mr. President. Why is it difficult for them to go to that very particular report? So exactly. They are talking about the state police today. It is there in that report. A lot of things is there. So are they telling us that Nigerian citizens, we don't know what we are doing? We already know what we are doing, and then the issue is this. This thing is all hula, but they are going to spend a lot of money. At the end of the day, they will go. Thank you and good morning. God bless you all, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yaku.
You can see the will we're talking about. We've gone through this process several times. No implementation, no action. That is why you're getting the people agitated. That, okay, we're sitting down, you're spending our money on various committees, no action to follow. And
So the fear that Mr. Yakub was expressing there to me seemed a bit like, you know, we're just kicking this can along the road. We're just kicking it further down the road.
Once there's a new fear, kick the can a little bit.
Kick it a little bit, you move forward. And that's not what is required. That's not what the organizers of this thing hope the attitude will be. But Libras brought it up this morning that if you do whatever you do to the Constitution, if there's not an accompanying behavioral change, people have called it all sorts of things. Some people have wanted a national spiritual rebirth. They wanted a spiritual revolution because at the end of the day, we all make up the country. And if my attitude is one of because I'm not in the appropriate or in the right class, if my attitude is one of don't mind them, you know, that's going to be a problem. And perhaps there are too many people who have become disillusioned, and hopefully this particular exercise can get on top of it. Charles is calling in from the UK. Good morning, Charles.
Yeah, good morning, Yuri.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. This is my first time.
Oh, we're delighted to have you. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, we're interested in what is happening in Nigeria, but the problem is, why do government do these things too late? Buhari just have less than 2 years to go talking about constitutional review. When will you do that? At the end of the day, they will come out with something and hand it over to the next government, and they stay after about going, they, continue wasting money.
I see what you're saying, Charles. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. Coincidentally, it went and sort of, keyed into what we're just talking about, kicking the can down the road. And now he's saying that, look, President Buhari's administration.
It's almost at
we got 6 years in now.
Yes, just 2 years down the line.
Now,
the same thing. Goodluck Jonathan, 1 year to the expiration of his tenure, he also came up with a conference.
But we had documents, we had suggestions.
That's why I'm saying that first and foremost, I talked about attitude. Let's even talk about the documents. Whilst in opposition, there was a NADECO conference, which the ACN members participated actively, and they came up with a recommendation. One would have expected, when there were agitations for fiscal federalism, once they came on board, they said, look, that documentation has been overtaken by event. There's need to review further. And they set up the El-Rufai committee to review, and they made laudable and fantastic recommendations. One would have expected that these recommendations would have long been a public document for people to chew on, and then now begin to say, okay, yes, we agree to this, we don't agree to that. And then lastly, on this attitudinal change, really, you need to win the trust of the people. If you amend the constitution and the government, the governors, you still have a door opener to a door opener, and then you still have senators blaring sirens, you still have House of Assembly members still living that kind of ostentatious lifestyle in the midst of poverty. People are going to believe that, look, all these things you're just changing power from, it's all jamboree. So that's why they say the change should start from me. If I'm in public office, I should be what I preach. I should not flout public office as if it's an opportunity to go eat. And that's why you get there, people now say, this man had nothing before, like you said. So now you have eaten, let the next man go and eat. And then you get there, you get all kinds of congratulatory messages.
Yes.
So it's our turn now.
So there's that whole attitudinal thing.
Exactly.
It's not as if, you know, because there's a certain, look, just talking ordinarily here, we all see it. There's a certain, yeah, it's a democracy, it's a civilian life, but there's a certain flamboyance that comes with, yes, it's just the way we are. Yeah. It's not as if people go in there with metaphoric sleeves rolled up for business, for work. That's not the way it is. I have Femi. Good morning, Femi in Surulere.
Yeah, good morning to all of you.
Thank you very much for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, to me, you know, the present constitution we are running and the present system we are running is not for Nigeria, it's not for any country in Africa. You can see what Trump did with the same system in the US. So you can, if it had been in Africa, you'll be a dictator. Number two, the former constitution, that is the constitution of 1953, we should look at it and adjust the reality of the position we are now.
Okay.
That is my own view.
Okay.
The constitutional review they are doing is just a jamboree. Nothing will come out of it.
Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call.
You can see from all indications that people have lost hope in governance, in our leaders, in our politicians.
You know, because the constitution that replaced the 63 constitution that Afe Babalala SAN is now reminding us about, there are people saying that there wasn't very much wrong with that constitution.
Is it the 1963 or the 1979?
1963.
Well, why was
the major plank of that 1963 constitution was the what do you call it, the bicameral legislature that you had at the regional level, and then also the fact that you had a parliamentary system of government where, because of the limited resources, you don't have to replicate offices. No, the ministers were drawn from amongst the parliamentarians. The president and the parliamentarians will elect one of theirs to lead. So you don't have to now create multiple offices. And then you also have the opposition forming shadow cabinets and to monitor the government in power. And when you have all of this, it also reduces costs. I think that the upper aspect. And then the issue of finances. If you have unicameral legislation at the regional level, all these multiple houses of assembly that we have everywhere that are barely doing the same thing, you ask, everybody wants to be honorable, even when they are unable. So you have them replicated everywhere. So if you decide to reduce the cost of governance, and that's why he's saying one way you can reduce the cost of governance is to go back, take that system of government, and then you can now modify other aspects that has to do with modern day.
I hope I'm wrong and maybe just being cynical. I was going to say that. Can you imagine a scenario where the sitting legislators are going to be agreeing and collating stuff that is leading to smaller, leaner government and all these cost savings? But I got someone on the line. Who's on the line? Ibrahim in Kaduna. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. And good to your two guests over there.
Thank you.
In fact, it's Aziri Ibrahim calling from Kaduna.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on board for another interesting topic this morning.
Okay.
You see, Nigeria, we have a serious matter in our hands. So to me, this ongoing constitutional review, I just hope that it might not be a right as it's well with others that can be coming and come and go. You see, what is going on in our country today, the most serious problem that we have is from the state executive. Why do I say so? Now, we have the three arms of government, which is the executive, the legislative, and indeed the judiciary. now the federal government have established and given those people their own autonomy. Why the state legislatures don't want it to go the way the president signed the executive number 10 order? Why they don't want them to implement? Because why? They want all people to be in their hands so that they will control them as a remote.
No, the judiciary.
This is constitutional something, and we know what is on ground. The problem we are facing because of this government from federal to from bottom to the top, it starts from bottom. If we fail to implement what the people need, because grassroots, but politics is all about the grassroots emancipation, and there is nothing like that is ongoing. That is why all this problem comes out, because we sideline the people from the grassroots.
Okay, Ibrahim, thank you for calling in. I'm going to have to interrupt now. Thank you very much for calling in. But I noticed that as you were speaking, Liberals seem to have one or two reservations. Yes,
I was talking about Executive Order number 10 and Section 121, sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution. It has to do with the autonomy of the judiciary. It's a bit complicated. It's not as simplistic as people, are saying it. Let me give you an example. If you're talking about, when we talk about the budget of the judiciary now, which aspect of the budget are we looking at? Is it the salaries or just the salaries and, the budget for expenditure? A situation where the chief judge will have to superintend and manage the budget, the entire budget of the judiciary, including building courtrooms, buying vehicles and all of those things. And then they will have to be there with tenders. And then you will have to interview contractors, and the funds will be released as at when due. The judiciary will have a tender board. And then if these funds are mismanaged, you have the EFCC inviting the chief judge to come and explain how funds were spent. And then eventually if he's investigated and charged, he's charged to the same court. That is why the government is saying we need to look at, the modalities. Let's set out. So it should be one of the issues that we need to also look at, and look at the modalities generally, so that we don't, in trying to solve one problem, create a bigger problem.
A few more. Adama in Abuja, good morning.
Hello.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, just straight to the point. I do not see this government having the capacity and the political wherewithal to review our constitution. Because they set up the El-Rufai committee, a government that set up a committee to make that far-reaching recommendations could not even have the to visit the recommendation that was made by the committee they set up. Secondly, we have had several constitutional review conferences or committees, and nothing came out of it. And thirdly, do we also need conference or review conference after the Constitution to review our attitude? It is human beings that handle the Constitution in terms of implementing what recommendations have been made to the National Assembly. The attitude in the National Assembly does not convince any of us that they have the capacity to do the needful. Neither within the executive arm. People that are clamoring for constitutional review today have strangulated the local government, have strangulated the judiciary, have strangulated the state assembly, the state legislature. They are under the purview of marginalization. How can those people have the local standing to now convince us that they have the authority or they have the power or the wherewithal to review our constitution? I see this as a charade.
All right, then.
We don't need to spend.
I want to thank you very much. I've got to interrupt now. I beg your pardon, but I've got to interrupt now. But thank you very much for calling. You raised quite a number of points. We'll come back, and I'm sure there are some of those things we want to look at after this short break. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. Still in studio with Libros Oshoma and Remilekun Samson Aremo, and we're looking at the public hearings that have just begun. It looks like they have the work cut out for them because there's so many issues. But by and large, you can say that power devolution, things like state police, those ones are really heading. But there's also another question: what is it that we want or that we need? Is it an amendment, an amended constitution, or do we need a completely new document?
Going by what is on ground, I think we need a complete constitution.
Libros is going to come in and explain to us that it's not as simple as, but we all know the hassle. Yes. We know the hassle that that coming up with a brand new constitution has. Even this one we're doing, it is still going to go through a lot of those rigors. Yes, yes. But what would you say, Libros? New or amend the one we have?
If it is feasible, a new one, but it is not feasible. It's not. Because what are the processes of getting a new constitution altogether? So it is a bit cumbersome. Because mind you, certain persons have subscribed.
If it is cumbersome, but it is the only thing that will save us in this country.
Yeah, but are we ready to be saved? That's a big question. Who is ready to save us? Are we ready to be saved? We're talking about, most of the callers have said, power devolution from federal to the state. But nobody is discussing from states to the local government and from local government to the people. And so, when you now talk about an entirely new document, constitution, mind you, the big questions are small questions that you did not even imagine that will come up. The constitution that you subscribed to, the oath of office that you took, and that now that there is a new constitution, even if you're in amending laws, there are savings, there are what we call sections for savings. You save everything that had been done in the previous one to the new one. But mind you, it is when you're amending a section. So you saved the processes and the provisions of the previous one and say you carry them over to this one. But when you have an entirely new document and you say, okay, you have done with this and you introduce a new...
That might take a bit of doing.
But at the end of the day, it will still boil down to amendment because you cannot completely do away with some of the sections that you have here. You will have to, in some way, incorporate the old and the new together. But that's why I'm saying that what we need to do, really, if we want to practice a federal system of government or unitary system of government or parliamentary or presidential, we should make up our mind what we want to practice.
Sorry for keeping you waiting a bit, Mr. Sonny in Mowe. Okay. Please go ahead now.
Okay. Good morning, friends.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. My own take in your discussion this morning, sir. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. You see, before we can solve the problem we have in Nigeria, we have to believe in ourselves. First, it must start from our homes. An Hausa man, you speak to an Hausa man, that an Igbo man, if you have a baby, tell that your baby that an Igbo man in the East is your brother. He's not an enemy. A Yoruba man in the West is your brother. Long-time is your brother. We begin to preach to our children. Let it, even in our secondary, in our primary schools, nursing school, to university level. And make ourselves to believe that we are one and we are brothers. The problem in Nigeria will continue. Good morning. Thank you. That's my take this morning.
It's a very important one. Thank you very much. And this goes back to the National Orientation Agency. So it's not as if people that we didn't realize this before. And so we've put up these, shall I call them, institutions. I don't know how well
I think this also needs to be a very good point in this review.
It's a very difficult one. Because they're asking you to change the way you think, change the way you see. That's what people are calling it.
It's not as easy as, because we've been divided a lot, political, religion, and every other way. But now, like you said, by the time
everybody knows the right thing to say publicly. When you're speaking publicly.
But when it comes to doing it.
But when you are within a safe environment and you let rip of the way you are feeling, I'm afraid I would not be surprised. Let me bring Mazi in. Okay. Mazi has called in from thank you very much, from Arochukwu. You could also be hosting this program. Mazi Okorafo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning,
everybody knows where Mazi Okorafo comes from.
I'm coming to visit.
They know it is Arochukwu
very soon.
Just land in Arochukwu. Ask for Mazi.
Mr. Lebros, I want to find out from you and your colleague there.
Yeah.
The senators running this constitutional review, are they lawyers? That's number one. Because when I'm asking this question, whether they are lawyers, I say, a constitution is not something that you give the psychologists to come and review. So what the Honorable House, the National Assembly members, to me, is that in as much as we are reviewing the constitution, they could have at least go to law school, go to Nigerian Bar Association, the whole federation, all these things have been, bring in lawyers on an interim job with them. Because why Nigerians are worried today is that, you see, as you have seen all the callers, not only on this program, other programs, they are complaining that the constitution is just garbage in, garbage out. Because if you are bringing in constitution for the country, look for those talents, those people who are within that field of what has to do with constitution. Not to go to the market and bring one because it's a businessman. But the question now is this. After reviewing this constitution, the governors, the National Assembly members, the so-called money misuse people, are they ready to obey? We are in a country that constitution of the Federal Republic is not being obeyed. Nobody can. You go to court and bring court that is just send him away. Now, it is not a question of designing a constitution. We do a constitution that will start because we are thinking about the constitution because it was the jackfoot, the soldiers gathered themselves as some people and produced that constitution. And look at what is creating now. At the end of the day, if Nigeria did not come out with a substantial and a solid constitution, Nigeria is still going back to square one. Let us face the reality of life. But whatever we are doing, we have to do the needful. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day.
Appreciate your call, Mazi.
Now, to all our Nigerian children, wherever they are, God bless all of you, all our Nigerian children.
Indeed. Thank you. Okay, yeah, Children Day. Indeed, thank you very much. Regarding the point he made, no, you don't have to be a lawyer to be a representative. Coincidentally, there are quite a lot of lawyers in there.
Collating ideas now.
That is
process now.
Exactly.
Is to collate ideas. What do you want? It's like consultation.
Yes.
You consult with the people. There's no way you will not consult. At the end of the day, they go back to the committee. They will consult lawyers. There will be a whole body of experts that will now put all of these wishes and contributions of the ordinary people into the proper legal form.
Where my fear lies now is they are bringing it down to the people. Will the people be willing?
Well, you see, I wanted to weigh in quickly in the willingness and that it is easy to change our mindset. Let me quickly, permit me, I might be wrong. When Goodluck Jonathan in 2011 came, he said, I had no shoes. It resonated with the ordinary man. Nobody asked, where is he from? Even though some people said, oh yes, he's from a region that had not ruled before. They produced they produced, the wet, the common word of the country. But people felt that this man will come. He felt our pain. He will come and he will change things. The man came with a lot of goodwill. In 6 months, he frittered away that goodwill. People were hoping for those change. If they had come, and from that I did not have a shoe, to begin to say, look, we are brothers. We can grow together because poverty in Arugungu is the same as poverty in Auchi and Shobo and all of these places. Buhari also came, and some people said, even if it's tissue paper, we'll vote for him because we believe he has the capacity to unite us. Even though he was a military man, he's not a born-again Democrat, he will unite us, he will speak the same language that all of us understand. But he came and chose to speak one language different from others. And that same goodwill, he frittered it away.
Which the presidency has said is really no more than a massive misunderstanding.
No, you've heard it. Gaba Shehu can people are just sit down in the comfort of his air-conditioned office and talk about misunderstanding. Let him travel on road from Abuja, without security, from Abuja to Lagos, and then come talk about the misunderstanding. So when leaders, why did Oshibanjo go as acting president? Why did he go to walk on the streets of Yenagoa, the only road in Biama to Yenagoa? Why did he bother to walk on that street? Because he wanted the people to know that, look, I feel your pain. I understand your language. And then people will naturally gravitate towards those understanding. Why do you think that during election, our contestants, our politicians will come to eat maize with us, plate hair on the street, eat sugar cane, and fry akara? Because they want to speak the language that the common man understands. But when they get into office, this language becomes moribund. So if you speak that language, the average Hausa man or the Fulani man, I have friends who are from Fulani, we do business together. When we are discussing business, they don't ask what religion or what tribe. What is interested in is that we are commoners. When we get to, when we get to London, when we get to America, you see a Nigeria, you say, this is my brother.
Yes.
Why do we do that?
Basi in Gombe, good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you, sir, Mr. Yorish?
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
I just want to chip in one or two things. I'm so grateful to God that we are alive to see him today. And I also want to appreciate your two guests. They have spoken so intelligently. And I want also to align here that information is power. And information is also security. And information is also knowledge. The Bible also makes us to understand that our people perish because of lack of knowledge and understanding. Why is it that the basic thing that needs to be done, we don't want to put it in line? Nigerian has become a laughingstock in the community of nations.
How do you mean? How do you mean?
Why I'm saying so is that they will say they will do this, and those things are not being put in place.
Policy flip-flops, inconsistencies.
Look at the security system in shambles. Everything is crumbled. And we need to take the bull by the horn by putting things straight.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling. And I think it is because of that urgency that he highlighted there that we are in the midst of this exercise. But the whole matter about an attitudinal shift, I don't know, that seems to me to be so important in everything. It seems to me to be so important because if the attitude, look, if somebody has an entitlement mentality, if that is not shifted, if you don't have a merit, mentality, and if that is not shifted, there are going to be problems, no matter the Turenshi grammar that we'll be speaking and that will be recorded, and that ultimately, as liberals has advised us, they will take it to a body of legal experts who will put it into the proper codified form, and before we know where we are at the end of this long process.
The last caller stressed something, which is information. Putting information out there.
Before you go much further, let me add Chidi so that you can just wrap up the comments because we're really on the home stretch now. Chidi in Kafanchan, good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Good morning, Barrister Liberal Session.
Good morning.
Chidi, good morning.
Yes, talking about the constitutional review, right?
Yeah, the public hearings.
Yes, I wish to recall that in 1997, during the Abacha regime, there was a constitutional conference that took place at the time.
Headed by Justice Aniagulu.
And memoranda, are you with me?
Yes.
And memoranda were received from Nigerians across board. And it was that constitutional conference at the time that gave birth to the 1999 Constitution, which the country is making use of, even this present time. In my own modest opinion, I don't think incessant reversal or reviewing of the Constitution lies the solution to Nigeria's problems. It is the political will to implement the contents of the Constitution. That is the primary essence
of having a constitution. It has to be reviewed periodically, as it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes the government, even the present government and the successive government, would they have the political will to implement the real outcome of the constitution?
Indeed.
For the betterment of every Nigerian. If that is going to be the case, I am wholeheartedly in support of the current constitutional review. Thank you so very much, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in as well.
Like I was saying,
very briefly,
information,
please,
information has to go out. Now he's saying that he's not comfortable with this incessant change in constitution, but we can't be running with what has not binded us together. The 1999 constitution, as amended, is still having its own flaw. We're not saying
it does have its flaws, but I've also heard expert commentators say that, you know what, complete with all the warts on the nose of the current constitution, if there was a will to work with it, that it can more than satisfy our requirements.
Yes.
So all these efforts to, tighten it up, rewrite here, remove here, it's still showing perhaps to some there's not a general agreement to mutually pull in one direction. The moment you carry one progressive idea here, somebody is going to counter it with something else.
Look, to even answer that question, to tell you, to agree with you, at the village level, even before I get there, you meet a man now, he says, are you a Christian or a Muslim? You say, oh, I'm a Christian. He say, what church do you attend? What state are you from?
Yes.
So I'm from Imo State. So I'm from Edo. What part of
Okay,
now you are from Afema. What part of Afema? It is that willpower to carry us in one direction.
Yes.
Look at the items on the exclusive legislative list. Those same items, you have some replicated on the concurrent legislative list. How much of those items does the state government even have the willpower to, legislate on? The federal government, the items on the exclusive list, how much of those items has the federal government legislated on to the benefit of the people? And then even the provisions of the Constitution, sometimes we even interpret it, depending on the government in power, we interpret it to suit whoever is in power.
And one moment, please. I beg your pardon. I know you said lastly, but I just, they want to squeeze in, the producers are on the side of Mr. Adeniyi in Lokoja. They want to squeeze him in. So, good morning, Mr. Adeniyi in Lokoja.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, please, I want to make my own contribution. The constitutional review that we are talking about, please, I believe the governors will not allow the constitution to say through. Because the governors are in control of the state legislators. So, and if the constitutional review is to go through, it has to pass through all the state assemblies, and approval has to be given before the constitution can be in effect. So I don't know how. Yeah,
but the governors the state assemblies are independent of their governors.
until they get their total independence.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling in. We've really run out of time now. We're going to have to wind down. But we're hearing a lot of misgivings, even as there is also potential. But people are you're bringing up your misgivings. Some are actually saying that, you know what, it's just same old. But perhaps not so. This is just the beginning, and we're going to look at what's coming on, and hopefully this is not going to be just another exercise in futility, because it all came about because of the dire straits that we actually are in now. So, gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave it there.
Please, there's much more, quickly to wish my children happy Children's Day.
Okay.
And then, all the kids out there.
All the kids of Nigeria.
My kids are in boarding houses, and I wish them happy Children's Day.
Wonderful.
And I know their school is usually glued to TVC.
Wonderful.
And I don't want to take an exception.
Okay.
My children as well.
There you go.
It's a very wonderful Children's Day. And
all Nigerian children, let me just say, all Nigerians. We salute you people. The greater tomorrow. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.